Andrew Tate was so obsessed with abandoning the New World Order that he accidentally walked away from order itself. Being the world's most Googled man, if you don't know who he is, Google him, or something, I guess. But I'm guessing that you clicked on this video because you want to know what the wrong matrix is. A lot of people talk about escaping the matrix, but I think it's really important for us to first define our terms and to know what a matrix even is. Because the actual definition is just the environment in which something develops. If you grew up in a childhood home, that childhood home is your matrix. So it's not inherently good or evil, just more of a matter of this is the way that it is. And it just so happens to coincide with Western culture pushing a lot of ideologies onto us. And those become the matrices that we are brought up in. This American dream is a lie. And that's why we talk about escaping the matrix, because the one that we were brought up in is wrong. Andrew Tate grew up about 45 minutes from where I am right now. To fully understand how unsuccessful his approach is, I want to show you an event that happened to me a little over a year ago. On March 12th, 2022, I woke up in the beautiful Italian mountainside of Ravello. We were miles from any big city. I mean, it was legit. So I had made friends with the hotel owner that we were staying with, and he offered just to give us a ride to the bus stop as we were going on to our next destination. We don't get to Palermo till maybe like 11 o'clock at night, and there was no food on any of the trains, and so we were just starving. So we broke the cardinal rule of traveling in Europe, and we ate at the first McDonald's that we saw. And we sat down at a random plaza outside of the train station to eat our food while I fed french fries to a stray cat. And these two guys came up to us and gave my buddy Brian a fist bump, which is European Sign Language for I want something from you. So, we kind of ignored him, but eventually he came a little bit closer to us, and he lifted up his shirt and pulled out a knife, and he was making the slicing motion on his neck. I want your dinero, I want your money, give me your euro. And he spoke Spanish, Italian, French, and English. And in all four of the languages between my buddy Brian and I, we knew what he was saying in every single one, because it was, give me your money right now, But basically, I don't know what happened, but I just turned to my buddy, and we looked at him and just pretended like we were stupid. And this is probably one of the dumbest things I've ever done in my entire life. But we pretended like we just didn't speak any language known to man. And so he kept switching languages, and we just were like, he's like, Espanol? Oh, no hablo español. I don't know. Acting like we didn't know what he wanted from us. And so eventually the guy just got so mad, and he just walked away. And so the Star Trek red alert alarm is going off, and we're like, crap, did we almost just get mugged? And also, why did we do that? And I think the reason we weren't scared is we grew up in America. Like, there's guns here. Like, wait, you got a knife? What are you gonna do, throw it at me? What's interesting is that I have a rule, that if somebody comes up to me and has the balls to beg for me for something, for money, for a ride, the money that I have in my wallet doesn't belong to me, it belongs to them. If I see a homeless guy on the street and he's asking for money, I give him whatever's in my wallet. There's all of these arguments for, oh, what if he goes and buys drugs, and what if he buys alcohol, and it's like, you know what? That's not my moral responsibility. But Jesus said, give to every man who begs of you. And so it is my moral responsibility to give to the people who ask of me. So if he would have initiated an actual conversation and explained his needs, I actually would have given him the 40 euros that I had in my wallet. But instead, he chose a path of aggressive dominance and instead walked away with nothing. Which brings us back to our main story. As much as Tate would consider himself to be a traditional man, he neglects to admit that the behavior that he employs is more like the tradition of an animalistic society rather than the behavior of an ordered one. Tate embraces a Greco-Roman value system which values aggressive dominance over any other virtue. And so, in his own value system, he's actually a very virtuous man. And that's why he feels so justified in everything that he's saying. In Andrew Tate's Greco-Roman value system, the value is placed over aggressive dominance both over women and over other men. However, in the Judeo-Christian value system, it recognizes the inherent dignity of both men and women despite their differences, and adheres to the higher virtues of meekness and humility. In other words, restricted strength, to be strong, but restrict yourself, and modest glory. So it's basically the polar opposite value system, and that's why Christianity was so persecuted in ancient Rome, because it was so countercultural to the time. That, and the Romans thought that the Christians were cannibals because they talked about eating the body and blood of Jesus in the Eucharist, but they were just missing out. Here's the thing, we can acknowledge the things that Tate has said as based without justifying his narcissistic or conceited nature. It's possible to appreciate snippets of wisdom in somebody whose daily actions you wouldn't want to exemplify in your own life. But that's where things get messy, because his fans tend to overlook his vices because he said something wise, while his haters are blinded by those faults and unable to gain anything from the snippets of truth that he's speaking. Tate is obsessed with finding personal freedom, but he brushes over the fact that a healthy marriage is one of the most free relationships you can get in your entire life. He's associating monogamy with restriction, while inadvertently restricting his ability to live an ordered life. And that's why he's undermining his own efforts. He's actually perpetuating his own existence in a chaotic lifestyle because he lacks the peace that comes from an ordered life. These different matrices exist around all cultures because matrices are just the environments in the environment, or they are the environment. I don't know. This is getting too meta for me. But think about it. If you were raised in a culture that promotes collectivism and embraces cooperation, you're actually going to be a much greater asset on a team than a culture that promotes individualism. So there are benefits to growing up in a culture that promotes individualism, especially personal responsibility, and I think that that's what Andrew Tate has mastered. He's definitely taken full responsibility for his own development. The end result is we live in a world that thrives on extremes, and for some reason, we just assume that it has to be one way or the other. But it's not like that at all. I'm not saying balance is easy, it's actually really hard, but balance isn't exactly in the middle of one thing. You know, if you look at a scale, it's two heavy things on one side. And so it's like, what can I take from an individualistic approach that's well and balances out with an approach of collectivism? And that's how you live an ordered life. A work-life balance isn't 8 hours of work, 8 hours of rest. No, it's I'm going to give my all to my work, and then when I come home, I'm going to give my all to my rest. It's not middle of the line. It's all of everything. A balanced marriage isn't a 50-50 relationship. It's 100% of the man's effort and 100% of the woman's effort, and that's what makes a successful marriage. And because this balance is really difficult, all we can do is just try our best and look at the people whose lives reflect the people that we want to be the most and imitate them the best that we can. Thanks for watching today's video. I hope you gained something from it. You stuck around for longer than I thought, so at least you like the view. Feel free to subscribe and follow along as I share the principles and philosophies that I'm learning as I'm trying to grow my own business and growing as an individual. Or if you just haven't seen enough yet, check out my video here about how I learned how to work hard by playing Minecraft. Have a good one.